Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, June 27th, 2024. My name is John Pieranunzi, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin, as we always do, with our news. Europe is mostly unched. European news of note, we had Spanish retail sales, Italian business confidence, a few euro area sentiment numbers, Italian PPI. As I've mentioned, Europe is mostly unched, so not a whole bunch. Coming into the U.S. hours, our 8:30 news drivers are durable goods, GDP, international trades, and jobless claims. GDP, this is the final. It'll have the PCE component, which will probably be the most important thing coming out today. Following that up at 10:30, we have pending home sales, or I'm sorry, 10 o'clock pending home sales. 10:30, we have the Nat Gas report and a few Treasury announcements. 11 a.m. we have the Kansas City Fed Index, regional Fed, not a mover. And then we have a few auctions with the 7-year note auction at 1. That's what we're getting today. Let's take a look at a few charts quickly, exceptionally quickly. We'll just look at the monthly. The only thing to take note of on the monthly, we did a lot of this yesterday, but obviously we just have this area. This is like our 81s, which I've mentioned, and then we have our 31s, which is our MCV-POC area. And what the thing that I'm just curious about today, with just a few days left, are we going to close the month above or below the 31s? Are we going to continue to push higher, or are we just going to chop around the 31s? Because we've established we really like this area of price. We're kind of sticking around there. So that's what I'm seeing on the monthly. Let's move to the weekly. I have to find the chart. And so the thing to notice on the weekly is that we have an inside week in progress, and it's Thursday. So that the weekly chart is starting to balance out quite a bit, and we have been really unable to get above the prior week's VPOC. But we also have not been able to get it near the prior week's low. So the one-time framing is still going on. So this is a little bit cautionary on the weekly, seeing this kind of balancing action. And we're just kind of orbiting around our MCV-POC region. So, and we've pushed these lows several times, but we haven't been able to get a clean break and take out these singles. So the longer that we're unable to take out these singles, and the more time that we kind of drift and hold above the 31s, we become more likely, in my opinion, to start for buyers to start getting nervous and impatient and have to start buying higher prices. But that has not happened yet, and we could also get the other situation. I'm just leaning a bit more bullish based on the monthly and based on the higher time frame charts, but a surprise would probably be better. But the main thing to take away is just we're very much balancing on the weekly so far. If we make a move, we know what we're looking for. We're looking for the singles initially above. We're looking for the prior week's VPOC and the RTH all-time high if we make a move, but we haven't made a move yet. Let's take a look at our hourly chart. On our hourly, we can really see how, these lows, this is the 10-12 area. And then here, this is the 15-16 area, just these really very equal lows. And like I said yesterday, we expect this to get taken out. It didn't. We expect this to get taken out. It didn't. And now we're kind of starting to push higher. Like I said, for me, the key area is going to be, for any directional move, is going to be the 31 halves. I want to see us push above the 31 halves and hold to continue. But, there's a lot of gravitational pull to this area as well. On the downside, obviously, if we get a clean break of here, we're looking for the same price we've been looking for all week, the 5500s. But the key to remember, though, in this area, we haven't made that break yet. We've just been orbiting around this VPOC region. Let's take a look at our trigger chart and plan for some specific price action. And let me find it so I don't accidentally change the periodicity. All right, here we go. Here's our trigger chart. What areas are important today? There's a few. So we have this area I've kind of marked 10s to 19s. It encompasses all of those lows that I've mentioned. That area. And then below, if we get below that, the area to be tested is the 5500s to the 5505s. Below this area, should we really move, then we're looking at the 90s, and then these 82s are the border of that LVN region that I talked about on the monthly chart. Above, we have our 30 to 35s region, our magnet zone, as I've kind of talked about, which includes our developing overnight high. Then we have settlement, this area really settlement up to, it's like 45 up to 51, roughly settlement up to this, which is an hourly double top put in yesterday's overnight session, which we didn't clean up. So we have things on either side of this that just have not been really poorly auctioned areas that haven't yet been cleaned up. So that kind of matters to me. We have our one vol up in this area, but really above this, the 75s are the key region with our RTH all-time high and then our full session all-time high up here at the 88s. So what can we expect here? Well, we're kind of starting to form a bit of a wedge. So let's talk about, I'll start with a bullish idea, a bullish move first. And we'll talk about if our initial move is bullish. What would that look like? Well, okay, first, maybe we get a pullback that kind of tests sometime before the cash open or around the cash open. Maybe we get a pullback, maybe we don't, I'm not sure. But the key is if we get a pullback, it rejects prices below 35s, or maybe we just grind from here. But regardless, I could see this kind of being a grinding trend up through this area, holding the 35s. If we see this kind of grinding trend happen, then we're looking for these areas, in my opinion. And these areas, you know, which is basically be about 49s, like I said, 45s up to 51s. But if we start grinding in here above prior settle and we get this test, this would be the key test area. So any kind of a move from here that holds a pullback and kind of grinds, I would be looking for a test of the 50, like this whole area, 49s up to that hourly double top. Then there would be a question mark. Here we could get continuation higher, in which case I would target, I have a zone around the 65s, I would target that, but then the runner would go to the 75s. But what we really have to be aware of is if we get this push, we get this push up, we take out that hourly double top, and it looks like we're gonna like actually continue to make a move, and then we flush. That would be flush back into balance, probably 2 or below settle, and then cannot get back. Then we just start balancing around this area again. So that would be something that I would be aware of. But basically, the initial, a potential initial move higher takes out these 51s, then question mark, do we revert or do we continue? This would be one this would be one scenario that could happen. Second idea that is still bullish would be if we get the repricing, like a quick repricing out, like higher off of the cash open that pretty quickly just moves up to settlement, kind of maybe grinds, continues, takes those 51s really quickly. If we see that, then I would probably expect the grind to just start happening from here up to pretty much the same targets. I would, because, you know, we're looking at 58s up to 75s. It's a pretty far distance. If I was able to initiate here, if it gave me a setup, I would be looking to scale probably at this zone here and then the runner to the 75s. But that would be a repricing higher. Could we get a deep pullback? Is it possible? We could get a deep pullback down, but I would expect the pullback, a very deep pullback. We would have to hold the overnight low, test below FS levels, make it look like we're going to get the overnight low, and then impulse higher, hold FS levels, and continue up to prior settle. If we get some type of a deeper pullback like this, I would be a lot less ambitious with my long targets. I would probably be looking at settlement as the key area to be tested, or the overnight low stat if it's open, or depending on how deep the pullback goes to the potentially the 35s prior week settle. That's what I would be looking for. How can this go bearish? I think if we go bearish, I could see it just looking like that deep pullback I just talked about, but then just kind of holding a really grinding move lower that just kind of falls below FS levels, tests back above, looks like it wants to go, but can't get the high, and then continues lower. And then I would expect a lot of static on a test of this area. Any test of this area would be vulnerable to what we've seen, which it'd be so strange to see it again, but I mean, you can't doubt it. Any test below this area would be vulnerable to an attempt to continue that cannot, impulses higher, and then gets back up to FS levels and back to the 31s. If we don't, obviously, if we get to this area, we test, we try to get back out and we can't, then obviously we are looking for the prices we've been talking about all week, which are the 5,500 to 5,505s, 90s, and 80s. So this is getting pretty familiar. We're looking for some type of a break, but if it doesn't happen, obviously we're trading balance. So really, the key way to approach this, in my opinion, is to understand that this 45 area, 45 to 51s, and this 19 to 10 area, these are key areas. They're areas where, in my opinion, we could if we get up here, it's looking bullish, and then we have to make another decision. Is this going to continue to the next targets, or is it going to revert? If it reverts, if we get reversion, in both scenarios, if we're trading reversion, in both scenarios, I'm going to be targeting the 31s back. So we get a test here, falls, can't get back to the prior high, boom, I'm targeting this area. Same thing on the long side. If we get a test below yesterday's low, tries, continues, I would target the 31s. Probably always I would target the DGPs first. Anytime I'm trading against the most recent extreme, I'm looking to target DGPs first and then another target. But on any reversion outside in, I would be targeting the 31s in this situation. I want to mention, be aware, when we have two areas of really poorly auctioned areas like the 51s, the hourly double top, and then all of this area here, don't be surprised if the first area to get tested is not the one that continues, which could look something like this. Like everybody thinks we're going to break, and then all of a sudden we test these areas. We may even flush through and get these, but if we impulse back above and start moving higher, that would be, as soon as we get back in here, it would start to look bullish for me. It would start to look like reversion. If we get something like this, like today, we get a test lower that quickly reverts, and then it's like another day where most of the action is in here, like we get an early test, then tomorrow might be the day that gives us the continuation. Same thing on the high side. If we get a test up here that just cleans up these 51s, maybe gives us one more attempt to hold above the prior week's VPOC, then we get a flush and we end up settling once again back in the middle of this area. Then tomorrow might be the day that we get some kind of a break of this range. As well, Either of those things could happen, and we stay in the middle here, and then we stay in the middle again tomorrow. So basically, the take-home message for today, if you're trading the S&Ps, number one, S&Ps has been a difficult trade. S&Ps are in balance on the time frame that we're trading. And the areas to be aware of are 40, 45 to 51s and 19s to 10s. These are our areas that are kind of like the bounds. We're looking at chop when we're in the middle. If we're testing the extremes, then that's our decision zone to say, okay, are we going to continue or are we going to revert in either direction, continuation or reversion? So that's what I'm looking. This could be a fairly difficult trade. I would, if you're trading the S&Ps today, I would err on the side of patience. You know, if we're within this area, I would certainly err on the side of patience. But if we do get a clean setup in one direction or another, know your targets, pull the trigger, let that arrow fly, and clock those ticks. But that's what I got for you today. I hope it's complete. The S&Ps have really not been giving a whole bunch, so it's hard, it's really hard to get too much out of this. We're basically just waiting to either to break this range or just have another day of chop. But hopefully this helps you in some way. Hopefully, it's beneficial. I hope you're also having a great day today, and I hope that continues. And as always, I hope that you can make someone else smile today, because no matter what your P&L is, that helps make your day better. That's what I got for you today. I'm going to close it here, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye-bye.